I had always dreamed of visiting Paris. Since I was a little girl, I would look at pictures of elegant streets, glowing lights, and the magnificent Eiffel Tower shining at night. Paris felt like a magical place where love, art, and history lived together. Finally, one spring morning, my dream came true. I went to Paris. The airplane landed at Charles de Gaulle Airport just as the sun was rising. The sky was painted with soft shades of pink and orange. My heart was beating fast with excitement. As I stepped out of the airport, I felt a cool breeze on my face. It smelled different, fresh and slightly sweet, like a new beginning. On my first day, I decided to visit the most famous landmark in Paris, the Eiffel Tower. When I first saw the Eiffel Tower standing tall against the blue sky, I couldn't believe my eyes. It was bigger and more beautiful than I had imagined. Tourists were taking pictures, couples were holding hands, and children were laughing. I bought a ticket and slowly went up in the elevator. As the tower rose higher, the city of Paris spread out beneath me like a painting. From the top, I could see the River Seine flowing gracefully through the city. The buildings looked tiny, and the streets seemed like ribbons winding through history. I stood there for a long time, feeling grateful and peaceful. That moment felt like a dream. The next day, I visited one of the most famous museums in the world. The Louvre was enormous. Its glass pyramid entrance sparkled in the sunlight. Inside, there were thousands of paintings and sculptures. I walked through grand halls filled with history. When I finally stood in front of the Mona Lisa, I felt amazed. Her mysterious smile seemed to follow me wherever I moved. It was incredible to see such a famous painting in real life. Paris was not only about monuments and museums, it was also about simple pleasures. Every morning, I visited a small cafe near my hotel. I would sit outside, drink hot coffee, and eat fresh croissants. The buttery taste melted in my mouth. I loved watching people pass by, fashionable women, busy businessmen, and happy tourists. Even the ordinary moments in Paris felt special. One evening, I took a walk along the Seine River. The sunset turned the sky golden, and the city lights slowly began to glow. Street musicians played soft melodies, and artists painted portraits of visitors. The atmosphere was romantic and peaceful. I realized why people call Paris the city of love. Another unforgettable place I visited was the beautiful cathedral in the heart of the city. Although it had been damaged by fire years ago, it still stood proudly. The Gothic architecture, detailed carvings, and colorful stained glass windows were breathtaking. As I stepped inside, a deep silence surrounded me. I sat quietly for a few minutes, reflecting on life. Paris was teaching me to slow down and appreciate beauty. During my trip, I also explored charming neighborhoods like Montmartre. The narrow streets, small art shops, and cozy restaurants made me feel like I was in a movie. I watched artists sketch portraits in the square and listened to a man playing the accordion. The music floated through the air like a soft whisper. Food was another adventure in Paris. I tasted delicious macarons in bright colors, pink, green, yellow. Each flavor was unique and delightful. I tried French onion soup, crepes filled with chocolate, and different kinds of cheese. Every meal felt like a celebration. One night, I returned to the Eiffel Tower to see it sparkle. When the lights began to shine and twinkle against the dark sky, everyone around me gasped in wonder. It was magical. I closed my eyes and made a silent wish. I wished to always remember this feeling, the happiness, the freedom, the inspiration. Paris changed me in ways I did not expect.
Before this trip, I was stressed and tired from my daily routine, but walking through historic streets and admiring art gave me new energy. I felt braver and more confident. Traveling alone to a foreign city had shown me that I was stronger than I thought. On my last day, I sat by the Seine River one final time. I watched boats pass by and listened to the soft sounds of the city. I felt a mixture of sadness and gratitude. Leaving Paris was not easy, but I knew the memories would stay in my heart forever. When my plane took off, I looked down at the beautiful city growing smaller beneath the clouds. I smiled to myself and whispered, "I will come back someday." Going to Paris was more than just a trip. It was a journey of self-discovery. It reminded me that the world is full of beauty, and sometimes we just need the courage to explore it.
And that is the story of how I went to Paris and found a little piece of myself in this city of love. When I returned home, everything looked the same, but I felt different. The busy streets of my city, the familiar noise, the daily routine, all of it seemed quieter somehow. Paris had left a soft glow inside my heart. Even though I was thousands of miles away, a part of me was still walking along the Seine River. A few weeks after coming back, I started noticing small changes in myself. I woke up earlier, I began writing in a journal, I even tried baking croissants at home, though they never tasted quite like the ones in Paris. Still, the smell of warm butter in my kitchen made me smile. One evening, while scrolling through my photos, I paused at a picture I had taken in Montmartre. In the corner of the photo, I saw someone I hadn't paid much attention to before, a young artist sketching portraits in the square. Suddenly, I remembered him. He had smiled at me when I passed by his stand. His eyes were kind, and there was something calm about him. I had stopped for just a moment, watching him draw. He asked if I wanted a portrait. I had laughed shyly and said no, but now, looking at the photo, I wished I had said yes. Paris wasn't just about monuments, it was about moments. A few days later, something unexpected happened. I received an email from a photography group I had joined during my trip. They were sharing pictures taken by travelers in Paris. As I scrolled down, my heart nearly stopped. There was a sketch of a girl standing near the Eiffel Tower. The girl looked exactly like me. The same hairstyle, the same dress I had worn that evening, the same thoughtful expression. Below the picture, it was signed, Lucien Montmartre, Paris. I felt a strange warmth in my chest. Could it be the same artist? The message below the drawing said, "To the girl who looked at Paris like it was her first love, I hope you find your way back." My hands trembled slightly. I didn't know why, but it felt personal. It felt like the city itself was calling me. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the streets of Montmartre, the music of the accordion, the golden sunset over the Seine. I realized something important. Paris had awakened a dream inside me. I didn't just want to visit beautiful places, I wanted to create something beautiful too. The next morning, I made a decision. I enrolled in an online art class. I started sketching small things, flowers, buildings, faces. At first, my drawings were simple and imperfect, but I kept going. Every line I drew reminded me of that quiet artist in Paris. Months passed. My skills slowly improved. My confidence grew stronger. One day, my teacher told me, "You have a unique style. You draw with emotion." Emotion. Maybe that's what Paris had given me, the courage to feel deeply and express it. Almost a year later, I found myself standing at an airport again. But this time, I wasn't nervous. I wasn't unsure. I was excited. Yes, I was going back to Paris. When the plane landed, my heart felt like it was coming home. The air smelled just as fresh, the sky looked just as soft. But this time, I wasn't just a tourist, I was someone chasing a dream. I went straight to Montmartre. The streets were just as charming as before. Artists lined the square, displaying their work proudly. I walked slowly, scanning each face. And then I saw him. He was sitting behind a small wooden stand, sketching a couple holding hands. His hair was slightly longer now, but his eyes were the same, calm and thoughtful. I stepped closer. He looked up. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then he smiled. "You came back," he said softly. My heart skipped a beat. "Yes," I replied, "and this time I want that portrait." He laughed gently and gestured for me to sit. As he began sketching, we talked. His name was Lucien. He told me he remembered me because I had looked at the Eiffel Tower as if it were magic. I told him that Paris had changed my life. When he finished the portrait, he handed it to me. It wasn't just a drawing of my face, it was a drawing of my soul. Hopeful, curious, alive. "You see Paris differently now," he said. I nodded, "because I see myself differently now." That evening, we walked together toward the Eiffel Tower. As the lights began to sparkle, I realized something beautiful. Paris wasn't only a city of love between two people, it was a city of love between a person and their dreams. And this time, I wasn't just visiting, I was becoming the person I was meant to be.
The night the Eiffel Tower sparkled again, I felt something shift inside me. Lucien and I stood side by side in silence, watching the golden lights dance across the dark sky. The crowd around us gasped and clapped softly, but in that moment, it felt like the world had disappeared. It was just the two of us, and the city that had brought us together. "I never stopped wondering about you," Lucien said quietly. I looked at him, surprised. "Why?" He smiled faintly. "Because you looked at Paris like you were searching for something. And I wanted to know if you found it." I thought about that question carefully. I think," I replied slowly, "I found myself." He nodded, as if he understood completely. Over the next few days, Lucien showed me a different side of Paris. Not the tourist version, but the hidden, breathing, living city. We visited quiet bookstores, small art galleries, and rooftop cafes where only locals went. He introduced me to his friends, painters, musicians, poets, people who believed art was not just a profession, but a way of life. For the first time, I felt like I truly belonged somewhere. One afternoon, Lucien took me to a small art studio near Montmartre. The room smelled of paint and wood. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, illuminating canvases leaning against the walls. "This is where I work," he said. I walked around slowly, admiring his paintings. Many of them showed scenes of Paris, sunsets over the Seine, couples under umbrellas, musicians on street corners. But then I saw something that made my heart stop. It was a painting of a girl standing beneath the Eiffel Tower, looking up with wonder in her eyes. It was me. "You painted this?" I whispered. "Yes," he said softly. "After you left." Tears filled my eyes. I had never felt so seen before, not just physically, but emotionally. He hadn't painted my face perfectly. He had painted my feeling. "I didn't know if you would ever come back," he continued. "But I hoped." I took a deep breath. "I came back because Paris changed me. But maybe you were part of that change too." Days turned into weeks. I extended my stay. In the mornings, I practiced sketching in the studio. Lucien guided me patiently, correcting my lines, encouraging my creativity. In the evenings, we walked along the Seine, talking about dreams and fears. But as beautiful as everything felt, reality slowly began to whisper in my ear. My life was not in Paris. My family, my responsibilities, my work, they were all waiting for me back home. I had built a life there. Could I truly leave it behind? One night, as we sat on the steps near the river, I finally spoke my fear aloud. I don't know what to do, I admitted. My heart feels like it belongs here. But my life, it's somewhere else. Lucien was quiet for a long moment. Paris doesn't ask you to abandon your life, he said gently. It asks you to live it fully, whether that's here or somewhere else. His words surprised me. You wouldn't want me to stay? I asked softly. He smiled. I would love for you to stay, but not because of me. If you stay, it should be because your dream leads you here, not because your heart is afraid to leave. I realized then why I admired him so much. He didn't want to trap love. He wanted it to be free. The next few days were emotional. I walked alone through the streets, thinking deeply. I revisited the Louvre, stood again beneath the Eiffel Tower, and sat quietly inside Notre Dame. Each place held a memory, but more importantly, they held a lesson. Paris had given me confidence. Paris had given me passion. Paris had given me love, but it had also given me courage. On my final evening, Lucien and I stood once more in Montmartre. The sky was painted pink and purple. He handed me a small package wrapped in brown paper. Open it when you get home, he said. I hugged him tightly, trying to memorize the feeling. This isn't goodbye forever, I whispered. No, he agreed. It's just another chapter. When the plane lifted into the sky the next morning, I didn't feel the same sadness as before. This time, I wasn't leaving something unfinished. I was carrying something precious with me. When I reached home and finally opened the package, I found a small sketchbook inside. On the first page, Lucien had written, "Wherever you are, draw your own Paris." Below the message was one last portrait of me, but this time, I wasn't standing beneath the Eiffel Tower. I was standing confidently on my own path. Months later, I held my first small art exhibition in my hometown. The theme, Finding Paris Within. And in the front row, smiling proudly, was Lucien. Because love, I learned, does not belong to a city. It belongs to two hearts brave enough to dream.